Yo, what's going on, guys? Glad to be back with another video today. We're gonna go over the Steve Jobs movies. As you guys know, Steve Jobs is the founder of Apple. Him and Steve Wozniak, grew up together. They made a hit computer, and you guys know the story of Steve Jobs, of course. So I watched both these movies because I know that the Ashton Kutcher's version gets a lot of hate, and I know the Michael Fassbender one gets so much glory. And to be honest, guys, I prefer the Ashton Kutcher version over Michael Fassbender's version. And I'm gonna get into your details why. I know, guys, that the better movie, quote unquote, is the Fassbender movie. The screenplay is obviously much stronger. The dialogue obviously is much better. It's written by, one of the greatest writers of our generation. Fortunately, that's not the argument I'm gonna make to say my claim on why I actually like Ashton Kutcher's version more. For one, guys, they're two completely different movies. With Ashton Kutcher's version, we get a much more fast-paced representation of Steve Jobs from, college. We see the 1976 title card, and it basically goes all the way up until I think 2001 or whenever they released the iPod. So it could be 2004. I'm not 100% sure on the dates, but it basically does a chronological order on how each event in his life made him to where he was. I know a lot of people are saying that there's no story, there's no conflict, it's just, patterns of what happens. And guys, I think that's the movie knew it was doing that. I think it went in saying, look, this is Steve Jobs' life, this is what he did. We're gonna show a good presentation of Steve Jobs. We're gonna get Ashton Kutcher, who actually looks like Steve Jobs. No offense, but guys, Michael Fassbender looks I feel like he looks like freaking Magneto every time I see him. It's not even close to Steve Jobs, but his portrayal is still really good. We're getting into that later, but as far as appearance, guys, he looks nothing like him. When the hell did Steve have like a blowback style haircut or a slick back haircut? That's never, but whatever, I guess we'll just leave it at that. So guys, in Job, we see Ashton Kutcher basically show Steve Jobs as a person. We definitely see a lot of scenes with them in the garage and kind of how it started, how Apple really came to be the household name it was. Unfortunately though, that part's kind of skipped over. We just see the big meetings, and to be honest, guys, the movie's really long. It's about 2 hours, but there's so many new events happening that you're never bored. It just kind of really goes through. I know, like I said, a lot of people have a problem with the story not really holding its own weight, and it's basically just scene after scene, and that is a big issue, that the scenes do chronological order, like A happens, then B happens, so C happens. However, there's no meat to any part of the story. It's basically just scene after scene after scene, and there is a lot. And honestly, I think some people will say it's excessive, but the music is very music video-y for a lot of the scenes, and since I'm a music guy, it kind of works for me. However, I could definitely see a lot of people complaining on that issue, where it'll just kind of have like a musical scene of Steve just getting mad, and it'll just play like, an old style rock song that feels the scene out. But to me, guys, I didn't mind that as much at all. I kind of really appreciated the way the movie kind of took. I knew what it was going to be the moment I saw it. It's just Steve's life from A all the way to Z, and it just basically goes over key points that happens. And to me, I don't really see why it gets so much hate, guys. Like, what exactly is so bad about it? Like, Ashton Kutcher does a really good job as Steve Jobs and really looks like him, does the part very, very well, I would say. Steve Wozniak, Josh Gadden, I think his name is, does a terrific job as the second guy. There's so many scenes with him and Steve where it's very riveting and you're very intrigued in the dialogue. It's definitely no Social Network type, super fucking quick talking guy interrupts you type, dialogue. That, however, this writer really knew what it wanted to do. It wanted to make Steve look like a dickhead boss, but a guy who always had a vision, and that's exactly what he did. And I thought they did a good job with the movie. The third act is very rushed. That is another big issue. However, guys, the whole movie is kind of rushed. So to me, if you're really a fan of slow paced explaining a lot of things in a really just, I wouldn't say boring way, but I guess appropriate way, then this movie will not be for you. If you're looking for a really insane storyline and really in depth on the battle between Apple and how it helped consumers today, this movie's not for you at all. Not even, you're not gonna like it, let alone, you know what I'm saying? However, if you're down to watch a really good performance from Ashton Kutcher, really entertaining movie, and just hit really key bullet points in Steve Jobs' lives, you're gonna like the movie, guys. It's gonna be a really quick breeze for you, and you're gonna have a good time with it. Like, guys, for instance, this movie, there's a lot of elements where the writer will just kind of drop a subplot or something. Like, there's this whole thing with him and his daughter, and it just kind of picks up in the third act that they're friends, even though in the very beginning you see how they could never have gotten back to each other. They could never, like, he basically abandoned his family, and we don't really see why they took him back or get in depth on that, which I appreciate, guys, because guys, this movie is not about that. It's not about story problems. It's just, guys, I'm going to show entertaining scenes of Steve Jobs' life, and I'm going to let you understand him as a character and as a person, which they did. So I understand it's not the movie that I guess people wanted, but I still enjoyed it at 21 years old, and I loved it still at 12 years old when I think I first watched it. I still really enjoy the movie. And guys, one thing I really love about this Steve Jobs portrayal by Ashton Kutcher is they actually make him funny. And there's a lot of shots of him that I've seen just in documentaries of him really doing a good job of getting that comedic tone that Steve Jobs had to him, kind of that arrogant, like I'm better than you comedic type cockiness he had. And Ashton Kutcher does it honestly a lot better than Michael Fassbender's character. Don't get me wrong, Michael Fassbender did a really good job as Steve Jobs and did a really good business side and very personal behind closed doors Steve Jobs take. But we saw the Steve Jobs that, you know, talks to the everyday person, talks to his workers, and that's basically what Jobs did. And Steve Jobs, it's basically a really short just time period piece, even though there's 3 time periods in Steve Jobs. Every timepiece is like a one take scene, kind of how Birdman did it. However, this is obviously taken to 3 time periods. And the thing with Steve Jobs, guys, is every time they get into a new time period, it's very forced. It's just kind of a narrative exposition scene. I don't see how that's really any better. I understand why they have to do that. They have to at least show you it's a new time period, but honestly, just put a time card and start fresh. I don't see the point in narrating what's about to happen when you're about to explain what's going to happen anyways through scenes. So that part didn't really make any sense to me. And one thing that Steve Jobs definitely copied from Jobs is what they would do is they would have a scene going on, and then to explain that scene, they would show a back then scene, like a flashback during the same scene. So like if it was like a screenplay, it would say cut to 1983 and then cut back to, you know, 1999 or whatever the year was. It would just kind of show you a little explanation, like a little exposition scene, so you understand the rest of the scene better, which they totally stole from Jobs, which kind of is unoriginal in a way. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Steve Jobs, but it just really baffles me how Steve Jobs, people say, is just so much better than Jobs. Like, I think Jobs is a more entertaining movie to me. It's definitely well written, Steve Jobs, definitely well portrayed. I think Seth Rogen deserves to do way more dramatic roles because he fucking knocked out of the park as Woz. I really give Josh Gad some credit for doing his performances, because a lot of his performances just felt so like you just felt bad for the guy. Like, I'm gonna put up a scene, guys, and watch this and just tell me that you really don't feel for this character.
I'm leaving Apple. For good. Actually, I already did. I thought I should come back and tell you first.
Why?
We both knew this was coming for some time. I don't even remember the last time we talked.
What do you want from me then?
Not everyone has an agenda, Steve.
Right.
You know, I can still remember when we were just kids, back in your dad's garage. No, we just wanted to create cool toys for people like us. You remember that?
Yeah.
No, it's not about people anymore for you. No, it's about the product. You're the beginning and end of your own world, Steve. And it's so small. So sad. And it's gotta be lonely. And I know you're gonna say that the product and the person need to be connected and all that, but it'll never be what you think it will. It just won't. No, not for a long time, at least. I don't know what you think is going on, Steve, but I do. And it doesn't end well for you. And I'm not sticking around to watch.
But guys, like I said, I love me some Seth Rogen. Don't get me wrong. He did an awesome job at that. But then again, he did have an A-list writer write his part, and he got to, you know, work with Michael Fassbender, who's just a tremendous actor overall. A really big positive though I have about Steve Jobs, guys, is there was scenes that I was just so freaking intrigued and just so like shaking that how good the scenes were. Unfortunately though, like I said, I still prefer Jobs just because I can constantly watch that movie. I could see myself putting it in every other year. I'm just enjoying it. With Steve Jobs, guys, there's so many great scenes that I would just love to watch like on YouTube that I'm like, this, if you want to write great dialogue, a great scene, a great action, dramatic scene, this is what you need right here. Unfortunately though, guys, like I said, Steve Jobs just didn't have enough action in it for me. And before you think about why would the reaction, there's no Avengers or something like that, it's a written based movie, performance character. I get it. However, when I mean action, guys, I don't necessarily mean, you know, Thor breaking somebody's head with a hammer. I don't mean stuff like that. I don't mean Matrix, a super battle with, you know, Keanu Reeves. Visual type scenes, you know, where you don't need to rely on your dialogue to get through. You know, there's a lot of scenes, guys, in Jobs where it's just kind of Steve walking around the house and we don't really get any dialogue, and we just see his house empty, and it's basically just a metaphor of how empty and dark his life is. And it's not, you know, a character telling us that, is we're able to interpret that as an audience and see his house and this huge house, and the camera pans to, you know, huge bedrooms and just over the top, you know, spaces, you know, stuff we dream about. And Steve is just so sad, and we kind of see it in his eyes. That's something that I don't care what anybody tells me, we're not able to get from Steve Jobs. Very limited on the settings. I think, guys, Steve Jobs would make a really great play because it's only in just a studio setting. It's, or in this case, it's some type of auditorium where Steve gives his speeches. So that's basically very cheap. The fact that they were able to get away with just a couple of auditoriums, they probably use the same auditorium for all 3 acts, is very impressive and really shows something that you can get away with. I wouldn't want to say get away with, but that you can do with some very good screenwriting and some very talented actors. All right, guys, just want to say hit that like button, subscribe if you're having a good time with the videos. I like to do as many videos as I can for you guys. I really do love just talking about movies. Thank you so much for watching. If you agree with me, write in the comments how you think the movies are similar or different, or if you really don't agree with me, write your opinion. I really actually do like, you know, the hate opinions because it's very intriguing to me to get other people's opinions on this. Tell me what you think, guys. I really appreciate the view. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Like I said, it really helps so much. I'm just a broke college kid myself, you know, who just loves to talk about things and really get in depth on these movies that I truly love. I really do have a passion for filmmaking and writing screens and learning how to make better screenplays and just getting better knowledge-wise as a person. But thank you guys so much for watching again. I will see you guys soon for another video. Peace out, guys. Later.